Dad always had a way of making me question things I thought I was sure of. He wasn't harsh about it, not directly. It was more in the way he said things, in the pauses he took, in the weight behind his words. So when he told me she wasn't being honest with me, it didn't hit like an accusation. It landed like doubt creeping into a locked room. "She's not telling you the whole story," he said one evening, his voice calm but deliberate. We were sitting in the living room, the television murmuring some background nonsense neither of us was paying attention to. His gaze didn't leave mine, as though he was trying to anchor me before the storm he thought I'd sail into. I shook my head, maybe too quickly. "You don't know her like I do," I replied, feeling a flash of defensiveness that surprised even me. My love had this way of making everything seem simple, easy. She didn't weave her words in riddles or leave gaps for me to fill in. She told me she loved me, and she told me she wanted us to build a life together. How could someone fake that kind of sincerity? Dad leaned back in his chair, his hands folded over his chest. He didn't argue. He didn't push. That was the thing about him. He let his silence do the talking. It was infuriating, because it made me fill in the blanks, playing and replaying his words in my head long after the conversation ended. That night, as I lay in bed, her face filled my mind. The way her eyes lit up when she laughed, the soft tilt of her head when she was thinking, the way she held my hand, like it was the only thing grounding her. Could someone fake all of that? Could someone lie to you, and still look at you, like you were their entire world? I didn't want to believe it. I refused to believe it, but Dad's words stuck like a splinter. Not enough to hurt, but enough to remind me they were there. The next day, I met her for coffee. It was our usual spot, a small tucked-away cafe with mismatched furniture and a menu written in chalk. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at our favorite table by the window. She smiled as soon as she saw me, and for a moment, everything felt normal. "Safe. You're quiet," she said, after a while, her hand brushing against mine on the table. I shook my head, forcing a smile. "Just tired," I lied. She looked at me for a long moment, her eyes searching mine. "Is something wrong?" I hesitated. The question felt heavier than it should have, like there was more riding on my answer than either of us could see. "No," I said finally. "Everything's fine," but it wasn't. Not really, because as much as I wanted to ignore Dad's words, they lingered. Every time she spoke, I found myself analyzing her tone, her expressions, her pauses. I hated it. It felt wrong, like I was betraying her trust just by entertaining the possibility that she might not be truthful with me. As the days went on, I started to notice things, little things, like how she sometimes deflected when I asked about her past, or how her answers would shift ever so slightly if I pressed for details. Nothing blatant, nothing that screamed lie, but enough to plant seeds of doubt. One night, I brought it up, not Dad's warning, but my own creeping suspicion. We were sitting in her apartment, the glow of the city lights spilling through the windows. "Can I ask you something?" I said, my voice quieter than I intended. "Of course," she replied, turning to face me. "Why don't you ever talk about your family?" Her smile faltered, just for a second. If I hadn't been watching so closely, I might have missed it. "It's not a happy story," she said, her voice soft. "Can you tell me anyway?" She hesitated, her gaze dropping to her hands. For a moment I thought she might actually open up, but then she shook her head. "Not tonight," she said. "Please." I nodded, but the unease in my chest only grew. I wanted to trust her. I wanted to believe in her, but Dad's voice was always there, whispering in the back of my mind. "She's not telling you the whole story," and the worst part was, I was starting to believe he might be right. The following morning, I found myself staring at my phone, her name glowing on the screen. I hadn't slept well. My mind kept spinning around the conversation we'd had, the hesitation in her voice, the way she'd looked away when I asked about her family. I wanted to brush it off, convince myself it wasn't a big deal, but something inside me wouldn't let it go. I thumbed through old pictures of us, photos she'd sent, or ones I'd taken over the past year. Each image told a story of joy. Her laugh, the way she hugged me like I was the only person in the world. The small moments when everything felt so real. How could someone hide behind that kind of love? Dad caught me staring at my phone when I came into the kitchen. He didn't say anything at first, just poured me a cup of coffee and slid it across the table. Still thinking about what I said, he asked eventually, his voice quiet but firm. I set my phone down and sighed. I don't want to believe you. I know, he said, sitting down across from me. But love doesn't mean closing your eyes to the truth. You don't even know her. I snapped, my voice sharper than I meant it to be. Dad didn't flinch. I don't have to know her to see how this is weighing on you. You're questioning things you shouldn't have to. I looked away, my jaw tightening. He wasn't wrong, and that made me hate this even more. What if you're wrong? I said finally. He leaned back in his chair, sipping his coffee. Then I'm wrong, and I hope I am. But if I'm right, he let the words hang in the air, unfinished but heavy. I left the house without saying much else. His words followed me all the way to her apartment. I didn't call ahead. I didn't want to give her time to prepare, to weave some story if there was one to weave. I just wanted the truth, raw and unfiltered. When she opened the door, she looked surprised to see me. Hey, she said, smiling. But there was a flicker of something in her eyes. Confusion. Anxiety? I couldn't tell. Can we talk? I asked. Her smile faltered. Of course, come in. We sat on the couch, a strange tension hanging between us. She seemed to sense that something was off, but she didn't say anything, just waited for me to start. I need to know the truth, I said finally, my voice steady but firm. She frowned. What do you mean, about you? About why you never talk about your past, your family, anything before we met? She hesitated, her fingers twisting together in her lap. I told you, she said softly. It's not a happy story. I get that, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. But I'm not asking for perfection. I just need honesty. Whatever it is, I can handle it. But I can't keep wondering if there's something you're not telling me. She stared at me for a long moment, her eyes searching mine. Then she looked away, her shoulders slumping like the weight of the world had just settled on her. You're right, she said finally. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I felt my stomach twist. About what? There are things I haven't told you, she admitted. Not because I wanted to lie to you, but because I didn't know how. I didn't know if you'd still look at me the same way once you knew. My chest tightened. Knew what? She took a deep breath, her hands trembling. My family isn't just complicated. They're dangerous. And I've spent my entire life trying to get away from them. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I didn't know what I'd been expecting, but it wasn't this. Dangerous how? I asked, my voice barely steady. They're not good people, she said, her voice breaking, and they've done things, terrible things that I wanted no part of. That's why I left, that's why I don't talk about them. I didn't want their shadow hanging over my life anymore. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to reach out, to hold her and tell her it was okay. But another part of me, the part still echoing with Dad's voice, couldn't help but wonder if there was more she wasn't saying. Why didn't you tell me? I asked finally. Because I didn't want to drag you into it, she said, tears brimming in her eyes. I thought if I kept it buried, I could protect you from it, from them. Her words were raw, filled with pain, but were they the full truth, or just another piece of the puzzle she hadn't yet finished?